So here's our reception, and this is where we greet our guests, and they will spend some time here either before, sitting in the couch before the session, or maybe they'll have a protein shake after. Here's our changing room. So in the changing room we also have showers on the 3rd floor of the facility, but this is where it can get changed before and after. We have this majestic moose on the wall. So the moose is a connection to part of our heritage, which is Sweden, and me being from Sweden, and specifically from a small town called Älmhult, which is only known for being the birth town of IKEA, which is not a small thing. And the moose is also a symbol of Sweden, or a symbolic animal for Sweden. So that's the reason why we have a moose on the wall. The moose is also referred to as the king of the forest in Sweden. And we are in the facility, or in the complex called Nai Pa, which means in Thai, in the forest. So the connection of having a moose on the wall being in the forest is also a good reason why he's there. So one of the most common questions we get is where does the name HAUS No3 come from? What does that mean? H stands for Henrik, which is my name. A is for my wife, which is Amm, and then together we're HAUS. And we also want to make sure that this becomes more than just a gym. It's actually functioning as one of your most important spaces and places in life. So it's your 3rd space in life. That's why it's HAUS No3. So between your own house, your job or your office, and your gym, HAUS No3 is your third space in life. Okay, so now we're gonna head over to the personal training studio that we have. So as you walk from the reception into the personal training studio, we have a small little outdoor space, which is again featured with a nice tree just in the middle. We have custom-made pull-up bars built, and they're inspired by a Japanese designer and architect called Nendo. So you can see that one of the poles is made from stainless steel, kind of giving you an evolution of the pull-up bar almost like floating in the air. And you also see on the lines on the floor, which is going to lead you into the gym. So here's our gym space, and this is where we do our personal training or our semi-private training sessions. And you can see over here that we have some gymnastic features, so like a climbing rope. We have the gymnastic rings, which are also wrapped, so to give a little bit of a better grip, so we have them wrapped with leather handles. And then our stall bars, our Swedish bars, they are also custom made, so that they are fitting to the space of what we needed. We have we have made a slightly oval shaped grips for, just for a better grip here. And it's really, and also made out of teak, which is most of our equipment and most of our interior inside our personal training studio. So the ground that I'm standing on has turf, but this turf is different from what you find in most gyms that have green turf. We actually sourced this gray turf, and it was extremely hard to find. We were looking across many different countries and had to really dig hard to find. Eventually we managed to source some, but this is really for us an important piece to make the entire aesthetics go together. So the gray turf was a big project for us to land, but eventually we got it down. So this is where we do a lot of our sled sprints, and this is where we do a lot of our ground-based work on this turf right here. So our lifting platforms are integrated into the ground so that it's level with the rubber floor that we use. The lifting platforms are 2 meters by 1 meter, and it's a really good solid dense floor to lift on. It also creates the space, a designated area for any kind of lift. And as you can see, we have 3 lifting platforms that we can use, as well as 3 accommodating squat racks. But on this particular platform, we have taken the squat rack off to give a little bit more wider space, or a little bit more sense of bigger space. The herringbone pattern that you can see on the platform is also quite unique, as well as the integrated brass, and it just gives that extra addition of just the, it's of course an aesthetic part, but it's something that we are paying attention to at HAUS No3, just to make the actual training experience slightly different. And as you can see, we also have the same herringbone pattern on the wall, because we are doing wall-based training sometimes, such as handstand holds. We can do wall walks. We also use this wall for medicine ball throws, so it's just a good solid structure that we can use for those purposes, and it goes really well and mirrors the lifting platform really well. So as I mentioned briefly, we have squat racks for 3 platforms, and these are also custom made, these squat racks, so that the attachment of the squat rack goes to the pull-up bar. And just to install this was a big project where we had to align everything so that it was straight, and so that the measurements were accurate, so that the barbell can fit right into the squat rack, so it's not too big or it's not too wide. We also had to fit the squat racks with the size of our flooring, so that the flooring was spaced with the platforms at an appropriate distance, so that you can lift safely without interfering with the person next to you. Our pull-up bars are mounted right into the ceiling above us with bolts and chemical bolts to make it really sturdy, so you can do dynamic movements such as bar muscle ups without having a bar that's shaking on you. The flooring that we use is 1 meter by 1 meter and 45 millimeters thick, so it's really heavy, and this is good from the perspective that we don't have to glue it down. So whenever we're doing a major clean, like cleaning of the facility, we can actually remove the mats if we want to. So they're also really good for being this thick, that they have great shock absorption. Us being on the ground floor, and impact from dropping weights or making noise in general is not a big deal, but with this additional thickness of rubber mats, it makes it even better in a way that we can minimize noise issues in the building in general. So these 2 pieces here are from a Swedish company called Eccentric, and they are quite unique for the region. So in Thailand, we are one of very few that have this piece of equipment, and it's just a very space-saving and highly efficient way of training. So the technique that we use is utilizing what's called flywheel training. So you're using this wheel to spin up momentum in a band, and you might use this as a harness for squats. You can use this for deadlift type of movements, or we can also use our K-pulley, which is a device from the same company, Eccentric, that is more of a standard traditional cable system. But again, extremely space saving. It doesn't have, with no needs for weight stacks or anything like that, and you can get a very effective workout using this type of equipment. And at the very end of the gym, we have a giant whiteboard. So of course, for educational purposes, when we are working with our clients, it's a very good space that we can use to write down and explain things that we're talking about, as well as when we do seminars and workshops. So this is a very functional space for that. They also are sliding. So behind these sliding doors is where we keep our weight plates. So we have our traditional Olympic size weight plates, we have some steel plates, we're also carrying resistance bands and accessories. So it's a really good space to keep all this necessary equipment, but to keep it away from the first thing you see, and to declutter the space, to not show that. And usually in most gyms is that you're met with tons of barbells and weight plates. For your eyes, that becomes quite messy. So same thing on this side, behind our sliding door is where we keep our barbells. So the hex bars or the trap bars, we keep safety bars, so some specialty bars, multi-grip. We also are proud to have some Eleiko barbells, and Eleiko is also, as you might know, is a Swedish brand and also used by top level athletes around the world. So it's the the company that supplies the Olympic Games and the World Championships with in weightlifting with barbells. So these are imported from Sweden, and we were actually buying these, or we were getting these barbells in before we even knew we were going to open a space. So these were something that we were adamant on getting because they are just top of the line when it comes to quality. And our line of cardio equipment that we use is, besides the sled and the turf area, is that we have a VersaClimber. So the VersaClimber is one of the best cardio pieces of equipment, if you ask me. It's extremely good for your joints, it's extremely good for posture and alignment overall, very low stress on your joints and your body, and still gives you an extremely efficient cardiovascular workout. Very functional when it comes to using your upper body and your lower body together. We also have the Ski Erg, which is a product from Concept 2, and this is a machine that will simulate a skiing motion, and another great tool if you want to use training people that have lower body issues such as knee pain, that they can still get an effective workout out in using the Ski Erg. We like to keep our rower stacked in a vertical position just for the space-saving aspect. But as it folds down, this is a traditional rowing machine, also from the same company, Concept 2. And of course, this is a classic traditional machine, a piece of equipment that you'll see in a lot of gyms used for cardiovascular purposes. The air bike that we use is from a Salt bike, and we've made a couple of modifications to it. One of them would be a Brook saddle made from leather. Again, this is handmade products, hundreds of years of tradition from the UK. We've also had our display custom made with some wood cover. But other than that, we left the air bike to do its job, and as many of you know, those of you who have tried it know, it's an extremely effective machine when it comes to training, and again, you get a full body training stimulus because your hands are moving as well as your legs at the same time. We only really have, and we only really use one mirror in the gym, and this is very handy though. We can slide it as we need to provide that visual feedback for the people that we're trained. But we'd really like to spend a lot of time on getting people to work on their awareness and their mindfulness. So we're, as you can tell, we're not a gym full of mirrors. We're trying to be minimizing that. So here's our famous dumbbell rack and display. And for most people that come to HAUS No3 for the first time, they will gravitate towards this part of a gym first, and it's like a magnet sucking them in. Quite rare to see when it comes to dumbbells, but they are an attraction in itself. We are also developing these ourselves. So these are handmade dumbbells that are made from teak wood, genuine leather, and stainless steel. So of course, this is a big aesthetic part of the gym overall and the feel. And in terms of the usage, you know, since we opened HAUS No3 in 2017, we've been trying and testing them, and we're now also selling them. So they are really a nice touch to the overall feel of what we offer here. So I really hope you enjoyed this tour, this gym tour of HAUS No3 in Bangkok, Thailand. If you want to come and visit us, just drop us an email or give us a call, and I hope to see you soon.